Have you ever just felt completely, utterly exhausted by the endless pressure to constantly improve yourself? Yeah, you're definitely not alone. Today's explainer takes a really profound and honestly kind of uncomfortable look at the modern human condition. We're going to explore how we've been subtly tricked into treating our own lives like corporate optimization projects. We are going to deconstruct the violence of self-improvement and ask what actually happens when we simply refuse to be a commodity. I want you to really sit with this question for a second. We all operate on this universally accepted role, right? That life must always be improving. But let's consider a massive paradigm shift. What if the very goals we are sprinting toward are actually a trap? What if achieving everything society tells you to achieve is the real tragedy because it completely strips you of your absolute autonomy? Okay, so let's dive into this. The modern world has quietly orchestrated a pretty sinister setup. We are no longer just living life, we are managing it, like a business. It's this super high-stress, high-stakes environment where you are somehow both the CEO and the product. And this mindset puts us on an absolute treadmill of anxiety, trapping us in a constant state of evaluating our own market value against totally impossible standards. Just look at this societal checklist we're handed. Study, work, earn, consume, buy a house, find a partner, optimize your body, travel, meditate, and be happy. It's just a relentless barrage. This kind of consumption actually hijacks our freedom. It uses advertising to dictate our desires, making us freely choose to want exactly what they impose on us. We think we're charting our own course, but actually, scratch that, we're really just checking boxes on a pre-printed form. It's brilliant, and it's terrifying. Now, let's just slow down for a second. Look at this phrase, become your best version. We hear it everywhere. But there is a stark, almost violent contrast hidden inside this seemingly positive little mantra. If you constantly need to become your best version, it secretly implies that the person you are right now is a defective beta product. You're treated as a rough draft needing constant, frantic updates until you are finally a finished commodity. Modern existence has essentially been organized exactly like a corporation. We have objectives, we have deliverables, we have performance reviews. Think about it. How much do you earn? How often do you work out? How many countries have you visited? How much time do you dedicate to personal development? It's like we've completely turned our inner lives into a giant spreadsheet. Which brings us to the ultimate key performance indicator. Are you happy? I mean, it seems like such an innocent question, doesn't it? But within the context of our modern, hyper-optimized lives, it actually contains a hidden, pretty forceful command. You should be. Society has completely weaponized happiness, turning it from a spontaneous human emotion into a mandatory metric of success that you constantly have to report on. It is highly ironic how we treat our downtime today. We don't just rest anymore. We invest in recovery. We don't just travel, we accumulate experiences. We don't just exercise, we optimize the body. Even leisure has to justify its existence and produce some kind of value. Life becomes an enterprise where the main goal is to one day present a final, definitive report proving that you lived correctly. When an experience becomes a target, it stops being an experience and becomes a sentence. And this optimization mindset totally doesn't stop at our careers or our hobbies. The philosopher Michel Houellebecq made this really brutal observation. This market logic has deeply infected our physical bodies and our emotional lives. Welcome to the sentimental market, where even human connection has a stock price, and we are all super busy trading. In this market, people are reduced to these isolated, competitive little particles, trying desperately to increase our individual market value so we can be chosen. The body must improve. Sexual experience must be accumulated. Youth must be exploited while it still retains its resale value. We take pleasure and turn it into a stressful performance metric with a hard deadline. Because when pleasure becomes a project, it stops being pleasure and just becomes pure performance. So how do we escape this? How do we break free from the spreadsheet? Well, we need to slow down dramatically and look at a philosophical counter-movement. What if the answer isn't doing more, but doing absolutely nothing? Ancient thinkers understood something crucial about rejecting this endless treadmill of accumulation, and it centers entirely around the rebellion of being completely useless. Consider this really famous historical anecdote. Alexander the Great, the man who wanted to literally possess the entire world, stood before the philosopher Diogenes and offered him anything he desired. Diogenes, who accumulated absolutely nothing, just asked Alexander for one single thing: to step aside because he was blocking his sunlight. Epicurus discovered something very similar. True freedom might just be needing less, not acquiring more. There is this wonderful Spanish concept here, el rato, or the while. It is time that produces absolutely nothing. You go for a walk and you achieve nothing. You sit on a bench and you achieve nothing. And that is exactly the point. El rato profoundly breaks the economy of time. It's time that just refuses to be converted into merchandise. Recovering spaces in our lives that serve absolutely no purpose might be exactly where true freedom begins. This brings us to a profound contradiction about mortality. We constantly want to complete or secure things, our health, our relationships, our whole lives. But those very things actually require vulnerability just to survive. They require seasons. They require endings. If everything is permanent, nothing has value. Society is dangerously obsessed with endless spring. We want constant growth, expansion, youth, and productivity. But life is also autumn. It's loss, detachment, decay. We try so hard to treat autumn like a disease to be cured, erasing wrinkles, trying to negotiate with death, delaying aging. But autumn is not an error of spring. It is a necessary part of living. Death isn't just an interruption. It is exactly what makes existence matter at all. Consider the number one. There's this poignant anecdote of a dying woman who recalled just one single hour with a man she loved. There was no life together, no consummation, no 20 years of domestic routine. Yet that one single hour of burning love was enough for her to feel completely realized. It didn't need to be optimized or extended into a lifelong project to have infinite worth. Why should lasting be worth more than burning? What an incredible question. We're taught to secure love, to turn it into administration, certainty, and property. But the moment you attempt to fully secure love or life, you kill the unpredictability, the very incompleteness that made it beautiful and desirable in the first place. Desire requires something to be missing. If we follow this intense desire to secure everything to its logical conclusion, we reach what Locke's terrifying vision of a cured humanity. Just imagine if we perfectly eliminated all wounds, all suffering, all aging, all insecurity, a completely optimized humanity. It sounds wonderful at first, right? But what is the hidden cost of this ultimate optimization? A completely optimized humanity loses its soul. We lose nostalgia, poetry, risk, the weight, the capacity to miss someone, and the ability to really burn for something. Trying to cure the incompleteness of life with some 5-step self-help program just repeats the crime wearing a new mask. Sometimes a wound isn't a defect. It's the opening through which life actually enters. So we arrive at a radical, completely counterintuitive truth. True freedom is the ability to say, I was wrong. It's the joy of abandoning the goals you once had. You don't have to discover your definitive self and fulfill some grand destiny. True freedom is retaining the right until the very last moment to change direction and remain an unfinished, beautiful work in progress. I really want to leave you with a final, provocative thought. A perfectly completed life might just be a perfectly mistaken life. What we call failures, the abandoned projects, the lost time, the versions of ourselves we decided not to complete, might be exactly what saved us from becoming dead, optimized commodities. What if the true revolution consists of retaining the right to never finish turning into anyone?